Hello, good morning, and welcome to the SSF Romcast, where two women sit together once a week and chat about books.
Yeah.
This is the last one of season 7. I am, as always, Jessica Haynes, and am joined by the always lovely.
Emma Jackson. Hello. Yeah, that's it. We're here to, well, we do chat about books probably every week, but we only
Yes,
record it twice a year.
yes,
So in a run, or four
yeah.
times if you count specials.
Well, if we recorded the other stuff we said about books, it would probably be quite interesting as well, honestly.
It would. It
Mm,
really would. But we have somehow made it to the end of the season.
we have
And
indeed.
yeah, we've got our final trope for trope season, which is retellings.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, I've
You see,
very
yeah.
much looking forward to this one, but it's
I was
yeah.
gonna say, you've seemed like you're excited. Have you been waiting for this episode to roll round so you could talk about a particular book
So
that
yeah,
you've been like
one book
really
started
excited?
it, and then
Yeah.
the other books that I found finished it, and yeah, I think
Okay.
we need to have a chat about
You
it.
need to exercise the
I
demons.
really, I really, really do.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's weird because we try not to talk about the books we're gonna
Yeah,
discuss
before.
offline
Mm.
so that we're not like repeating ourselves at each other. So like you have to hold on to the things that you want to
So
tell each other.
hard.
And that's quite hard remembering
Mm.
these things. I do find that tricky.
Hmm.
Well, I try to do it quite on top of when we're recording as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We,
You're
we
already, you're like,
oh,
if you're
jumping at
watching
the
this, this is like bursting.
just,
I think
just
I'll let you go
let
first
it.
when we
Yeah,
get back.
it's my turn. Yes,
Right.
let's get to it.
Let's go.
Okay, so on that note, that what we were just talking about,
Yeah.
yeah, my name's
Not
Jessica, and I
quite.
have a problem. I have a problem with this one this week. Oh,
Okay.
it's been so hard because two that I have are part of a big series, and they're so
Okay.
good that I can't stop myself. I have been. Oh, I'm a bad person, but
You're not
it's
a bad
good for the
person.
podcast. Oh, I am. Mommy, can you help me make lunch? Just give me a minute. Just give me a chat.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, when I talk to the
Oh.
kids about like you're getting a bit obsessed, you need to be able to put the game down
Put the
and go
Kindle
and
down,
do
mummy.
something else, and it's like, yeah, that's when I
Yeah.
know things are, yeah,
Yeah, you've
things are
gone too
bad.
far. Yeah. You
Got to
don't go
step
full.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been with this one. All right. So I've done one at the beginning, one at the end. Not that the one in the
Okay.
middle isn't really good. It's just a bit more standalone so we can stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm intrigued to see if we have the same sort of fairy tales that we've used.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I think, did you go for fairy tales? Because I've
No.
stepped away. Good. Okay.
No, no, I just found the
Because I
books and it was in
forgot.
there.
I think when we were talking about it, I was like, should we go just for fairy tales or should we just do retellings as a
What
whole?
I've done retellings, but they did also sort of seem to fall into that
They all
grouping.
fell
So,
into that.
mm,
Yeah, there
yeah,
are
I don't.
quite a lot of different areas of retellings, really,
Yeah.
aren't there?
Well,
So,
yeah, it's kind of when you go into the folky sort of stuff, and then yeah,
hmm
but
yeah,
yeah.
and I wondered how much does that is that retelling or is it just inspired by? Like I had one I was gonna read, but then I started to read it and I was like, is this following it? Is it like a retelling or is it just characters? I don't know.
But this is kind of the wavy line with it because I've not read what would be considered the original fairy tales. So
Yeah,
what is
yeah,
actually happening
definitely.
is probably very different to, let's face it, the Disney equivalent that we're gonna kind of all have more of an
Yes.
idea of.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of yeah. The Little Mermaid's almost my favorite, where every step is like knives. You know that I didn't remember that when the crab was singing.
No.
What's the
And there's different ones as well. Like, yeah, that was one of the questions I was gonna like ask you is because some of them with fairy tales, it's like they've been retold so many times that as long as it's like got kind of core elements, you kind of recognize it. And then
yeah?
there's
Then
other
it's
ones, like I saw that they were YA ones, unfortunately. So I was like, there are so many amazing looking YA retellings that I actually do want to dig into a bit, but I didn't pick them up for
not for this
this.
one.
But there was like um one based on like the Count of Monte Cristo that's just come out. I
Ooh,
think For She Is Wrath. And I was like, oh,
nice.
I don't know how much romance is involved in that because I've never read The Count of Monte
No, no,
Cristo.
no.
So I've never even seen the film. I just know that it's a revenge tale and it sounds awesome. So
Yes.
I was like, that looks really good, but that's like a really specific retelling of a book, and I don't know, that's not been retold a lot, as
No.
opposed to fairy tales like Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid and yeah.
Yeah. So my choice is Bonded by
Yes.
Thorns by Elizabeth Helen, which is your Beauty and the
Okay.
Beast. Because it had
Yes.
to be done. It is the big one. I suppose
Uh-huh.
not that I'm going to put us both together. Within our age group, it is the notable one of my
It
childhood.
is. It is very
So
much.
yes. Um, so yeah, and this has got, I think, I've read the first four, and I think the fifth isn't out yet. And I don't even know if the fifth is the last one.
Oh,
So
really?
this is going on forever. It can happily go on forever. Next book, please.
Really? Oh, wow. Is it like
Cool.
you just want to stay in this
I
world?
just stay there forever. Doesn't have a
Awesome.
LeFou though, which was very upsetting because I do love LeFou.
Oh.
Okay,
Hmm.
we have Rosalina. Now, going back to it, if you are of a certain age and you know the Disney equivalent, it kind of does take on that at the beginning. Rosalina, very bookish, works in the library, that kind of person, the Belle-esque person. That nearly sounded like burlesque. Hey, that would have been a totally different take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she lives in this tiny little village called Orca Cove, and she's basically she has to stay there because of her dad. Her dad has not been considered well. He is running around saying that his wife has been kidnapped by fairies.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
his name is George, and he's the eccentric type that everybody feels for. So Rosalina was supposed to have this big epic life, but has had to stay back. College money that was set aside for her to go has gone to her dad. He
Mm.
travels here, there, and everywhere trying to find his wife. So yeah, basically,
Oh.
she is kind of seen as this reclusive person.
Mm.
However, she does get the eye of the local kind of the in man
That's
within the
done.
village, the Gaston type figure. Yeah. His name is Lucas, and they first came into each other's orbit because he saved her from, she fell in the ice as a kid, and he pulled her out
Okay.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how he kind of came on her radar.
Mm.
And they kind of got together, and that kind of put her up in the world. But then he went off, or he left. Spoilers and triggers and all of the other stuff. Please have a look beforehand. He kind of left her there to go off and sow his oats, but he left her with some physical, emotional, mental issues
Oh.
that yeah, he kind of spoke down to her, treated horrendously, and in the
Mm.
end kind of like, oh, all this jealousy and stuff you've got, I will make sure you remember me by carving his name in her
Oh,
arm.
rough.
So yeah, he is not a nice person. So we come back to Rosalina in the village. Her dad's not long come back, scattered loads of his things he's found and gone to leave again. Lucas has appeared, and he's like, oh, old times, come and see me in the hunting lodge me and my family own. And she's kind of like, she's always been drawn to him for what he's done. And sort of
Mm.
he always makes her feel a little bit better and a bit stronger. So she goes along, and everybody in the village is there. And it's like, okay, it's a bit weird. Cozy dinner. And he
Yeah.
just gets up and he's like, yeah, I'm glad you could all join us for engagement party. Thanks all for coming. And she's like,
Mm.
pardon? Epically blindsided. He gets on one knee with the ring. But luckily, somebody runs in, screaming blue murder. I found your dad's stuff. It's covered in blood. It's in the field. You've got to come.
Luckily,
Luckily for her, yeah.
saved by the
Yeah.
bell.
Double-edged sword, saved
Yeah.
by the bloody scarf from the woods. So she's like, I'm going. And Luke's is like, no, 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 stay here and say yes to me. No. So she goes.
Yeah.
He reluctantly follows. And they find this rose bush that's never been there before. She doesn't remember ever seeing it. But they
Hmm.
crawl through and they end up in a totally different place. And it's full
Oh.
of thorns and like a big, massive briar patch and shed loads of goblins who are there once they've got through to the other side. And
Mm.
they're wanting to feast on many things
Okay.
of all of the human variety. So they
Hmm.
hotfoot it out of there. Lucas obviously up on two legs and gone, leaves her
Yeah.
behind, stumbling and falling. She kind of gets to where she needs to be, but falls over. And she ends up falling through the briars and she can't remember what's going on. But there's a voice going, it's all right, princess, I'll save you. You're all good. She doesn't know who it is, thinks it's Lucas, realizes it's really obviously not. Ends up at a castle. And it's called Castle Tree because it's a big castle in a tree.
Cool.
Yeah, it's wicked. But it is surrounded by these thorny briars as well. It's a
Okay.
fact, once you get into the story and you read about what this thing looks like. So, as with the film, she goes in, tries to find her dad, gets
Yeah.
into the dungeon, finds a dude already chained up. And she's like, okay, I'll come back for you once I know where
Oh,
my dad is. And he's like, no, you have to go. You have to leave here. When it gets dark, you can't be here.
oh
She's like, no,
wow.
no, no, it's fine. I'll manage. I'll find lights. I'll get you out. Goes to find her dad. And there is a scene in the middle of all of this where her dad ends up at this place and he picks a rose off the door when he tries to go in and get shelter.
Hmm.
And one of the other people in the place finds him and throws him in the dungeon for theft. So
Yeah.
she finds her dad and he's like, no, you've got to go. It's horrendous. There's beasts. It's horrible. And she's like, I've met the beasts. I'm okay. But she's not met the beasts. The big, tall, epically handsome, frosty chap appears. Like, no, you can't
Yeah.
take your dad. He's stealing things. And that's when she does the exchange. Okay, let my dad go and I will stay. So
Yeah.
she does. And yeah, basically she ends up being kept in this prison, but she's trying to get out. She's like, okay, I don't know what is going on, but I need to try and figure out a way out of here, trying to get home, see where my dad is. He said he'd take my dad home, but will he? Is my dad still here?
Yeah.
So she's trying to get through the window, talking to herself, and all of a sudden the castle starts to listen to her and the windows start to
Mm.
open. So she's like, it's weird, but maybe
Yeah.
magic. This is
It's
how
got
this place
Alexa.
works. Yeah, seriously. That would be Alexa, clean the windows, open the windows. Yeah. So she gets out. The brambles start moving to help her downstairs. Help her down on these little steps.
Yeah.
Gets to the bottom, and there's a dude in a full suit of armor, grabs her around the neck, shoves her up the wall. And basically, every step she takes, she meets this big, epic, huge, attractive man
What, like
who's
a
very,
different one or the
yes,
same one?
different one. So we have the first one is very frosty. He's the one who threw her in. She gets down the
Yeah.
stairs, meets the second one, who's in a full suit of armor. He's very bright and shiny and flowery and spring-like. The staff from the castle run in, going, no, 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 Kel has already taken her prisoner. You can't take her prisoner as well. So they take her in, put her into a nicer room, and kind of leave her there.
Yeah.
And the staff come out and they're like, okay, well, you're a prisoner, but we're not going to keep you fully locked in. So we'll take you around the place. You can have a wash because you're covered in all the brambles and stuff. She goes to this massive bathing pool that's in this lovely, bright, summery part of the castle.
Yeah.
This is the best castle ever.
Hmm.
Some dude comes in to wash with her and she's chatting to him, having a right go at these two dudes. One is Kel, who is Frosty. One is the full suit of armor, who is Ezrin. She's chatting to this other dude and he's like, God, yeah, they sound awful. The staff come back and go, Prince Dayton, get out. And she's like, oh, for God's sake, who the hell are you? So this is a summer prince. This is
Yeah.
Dayton. And yeah, basically, they kind of all come to a head that, okay, you are a thief. We've got to keep you here because of what you've done, because Kel said so. But with the curse, we can't let you walk around. She's like, curse? What? And it's like, it's getting dark. We'll explain it to you later. She
Hmm.
goes to a room. She's like, I don't really care that it's dark. I've got to go and save the other chap in the dungeon. So she goes down. As with all heroines in these books, she's fantastic at picking locks.
Awesome.
Awesome. Don't know why.
I
I
mean,
just
I
thought
don't
it was
even
magic.
wear hairpins, so I
No,
wouldn't even know where to begin.
no.
What would I even
And just
use?
yeah, and she can do the door, so gets in, and he's got
Yeah.
handcuffs on, so she undoes those. And then she goes to do the one around his neck, but realizes it's really big and he could actually get out of it anyway. So it's
Right.
like, why is he?
Why
Oh,
are
why
you staying
are you
here?
even wearing
Yeah.
that? And then he's
So-
asleep when they get there.
Sorry,
Don't
I had Muppet Christmas Carol moment, with Rizzo.
just
It's
walk
like,
through the fence.
yeah,
Oh, can
what's
I?
the matter with you? Could do that the whole time.
Just for jelly beans. But
Sorry,
yeah, so
continue.
he's asleep at the start. She manages to get these cuffs off him, goes to lift this massive thing off his head, And he's like, no, you have to leave. The sun is going down. And the curse kicks in and he turns into this big, massive wolf. And so,
Mm.
and then he attacks her because he can't
Oh,
control this massive
oh
wolf.
dear.
So rips her legs all to pieces. She escapes, finds
God.
three more wolves outside. They all
Yeah.
have a big set to because some of the wolves can be handled, some of them can't. And then we find out they are cursed. There are
Yeah.
four princes. The last prince, the one locked up in the dungeon, is Fallon, and they are
Hmm.
all part of the seasonal realms that are all joined together in Castletree, which is this big, massive thing that was created by the big queen 500 years ago, who mysteriously disappeared. So, yeah,
Ooh.
basically, they all come together, tell her about this curse that every evening they all get turned into these wolves, and every morning the curse disappears. But none of their people are allowed to know because all of the realms are in some sort of turmoil. She sits down to
Okay.
chat with them all, and she can see that every single one has some sort of issue with the other. Kelly's the snow dude. He's winter, and he's just standoffish with everything. He doesn't want to look at her, doesn't want to talk to her, doesn't want to say anything to her, but he kind
Mm.
of growls when he does. Ezrin, yeah, is autumn. Him and Kel kind of sit near each other, looking very friendly, but there's just such frostiness between the two of them that
Mm.
she's like, okay, there's something going on there. Fallon is very quiet and subdued, whereas Dayton is kind of just the life and soul, the retriever of the party. And
Yeah.
he's bouncing around talking to everybody. And then they say something about, yeah, the curse is there. It can only be lifted by fated mates. But we've got a problem with Prince Caspian. So who the hell is
Oh
Prince
God.
Caspian? There's a
Okay.
fifth one? And yeah, so he is linked to the down below in the underworld. Like, yeah, he is the dude who has covered everywhere in the thorns. So
Right.
this is the problem. And yeah, because of the rose that her dad picked, and her name is Rosalina. So do you have something to do with the thorns as well? Do you
Oh,
have something to do with the prince? Are you a spy? What's going
I
on?
see. Hmm.
And it's just, yeah, I will leave it
Wow.
there. And that is even just the first 30% of book one.
Wow. God, that is a
We
lot
haven't
going
even
on.
hit a realm yet. I think we go
Hmm.
to autumn first when there's problems there. And it's just, yeah, there's a queen who's gone missing. There's a
You
castle
haven't
falling
got to a
down.
realm. Oh, in
Not
that
within that
book, I was going to say, you've
30%.
read
No,
like the first four books. Yeah.
I've read all the books. I've hit spring and autumn. And I
Okay.
think we're into summer as well, yeah.
Yeah.
And the
So
below.
is
The below is
each
fun.
book like each
Into,
of
yeah,
the
it kind of goes
princes'
further into it,
relationship
but
with
yeah.
her
And it
and
is white shoes all of the places.
yeah, they would guess
MMF,
that when you're like, there's
MMMMM.
this big guy and there's this big guy and
Yeah,
they're
this
all
one's tall and
wolves.
handsome and white hair, and this one's tall and handsome, and he doesn't take his helmet off ever because he's not
Oh,
allowed. He's not
Mandalorian.
allowed. Yeah, he's not allowed to take it off until it's with his family or his fated mate, and because he can't go home to see his family because he has to stay in Castletree because he turns into a wolf, he never takes it off. So
Yeah.
what?
Wow.
Oh, it's fantastic. So many things. All of the staff are fantastic, and they turn into
Yeah.
animals. So she walks in, and there's a rabbit on the bed. Why is there a rabbit on the bed? Oh, so good. And then Caspian turns up, and Caspian is fantastic. And his
Hmm.
mother is evil. Oh, so many. And there's a sister, and she gets involved. I have so many issues, and I have so many books. Yeah, so that's my first book.
Yeah.
I don't think
Okay.
it's taken too long, and I've not even got
No.
into loads of details about all of the things
Yeah.
I could.
That's awesome.
Oh, so much going on. It's
It
fantastic.
it's kind of cool because you've picked a Beauty and the Beast, and my first one is Beauty and the Beast retelling as well. So that's like perfect to show how differently
Mm.
it can be done. Because that, like, with the Fae and leaning into it and all with the flowers and stuff like that, that's like you're really getting like the fairy tale element
Yeah, the
of it.
epicness of the fantasy in it, the world building is just huge. You've
Yeah.
got this one place that encompasses every single seasonal place
Hmm.
within it, as well as all the darkness that has been wrapped around it. And then
Yeah.
she's the human who comes in, and it's
Hmm.
just, yeah, so much going on. It's very good.
So my one takes it in like a different direction and leans into like a different element of it, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, it's Guardian's Curse by J.D. Monroe. and it's a paranormal romance. It's vampires,
Mm.
and witches and stuff. So you've got Shoshana, who's a witch, and she is it's set in Atlanta, and she tries really hard to keep herself neutral in terms of who she works for,
Okay.
because her dad used to be the witch that worked, like he was employed, like contracted to one of the vampire like courts. They have different courts and stuff. It was the Casteron court, and she just it created so much distance, and he'd disappear at night and he'd come back with blood on his hands and that kind of thing. And she's like, I don't want to be owned by a vampire court and have to be in, like make my morals be bent in order to do what I have to do. Because once you're in, aren't you? That's the
Yeah.
problem. It's very like mafia like, isn't it? Like you know their secrets, you can never
Yeah.
leave, kind of thing. Um, but she's been quite hard up in terms of money, because she studied she went I think she went to normal college for a bit, and then she studied in terms of being a witch. So what her speciality is like protection spells, warding, that kind of thing. There is a particular name she uses for it, but I haven't written it down and it's French, so we're not going to worry about
Good luck.
that. So we'll just sweep that away. Um, and I really loved the way she does her magic, actually, because it's a little bit like building security. Okay, my other half is in IT. So
Mhm.
I'm familiar with the terminologies like building arrays and stuff like this for like, yeah.
I am not.
But she kind of uses this sort of terminology, and it's like quite geometric, and but then like bringing in the other elements of, like herbs, and then her magic as well, fueling it and like charging it up and building on top. It's really cool. Um, so she went and did that, but she's struggling a bit because she didn't take any of the money that was a payout for when her dad died. They kind of gave her family some money, and she just didn't want it. She was like, I don't want that kind of thing. So she's struggling a little bit, and she's taken this job to help the what court are they called? It's the main court, and I've Oberon Court, I think it is. Um, they've got like a club. They always have clubs. It's very cool. Um, and she's there building protections for them because they're having a bit of a. There's been vampire hunters ramping up in the area, and this other court, the Casteron court, is like they're testing the boundaries with them all the time. They're not doing anything that could warrant out and out war at this stage, but they're just there being little assholes, basically,
Okay.
like um
As they do.
as they do. So she's gone in just on like a freelance basis to build this warding for them at their buildings to help them uh see the potential of people who want to do harm, highlight who is allowed in, who's not. It's like, because they do let other vampires come into their club too. Um, and when she's kind of done and they're gonna like take her out and take her home, she's walking through the club and she recognizes someone, and he comes over and she realizes it's her old high school boyfriend who she had problems with, in that when she broke up with him, he then stalked her and stuff like that. So trigger warnings for that. I was going to say about trigger warnings and things. Um, a lot of books have them at the front, but the
Hmm.
ones that don't, and like you might go and look on the author's website or something, but also a good place is if you have Storygraph, they will cover a lot of things because reviewers will like,
Oh,
it's
do
like
they
an
highlight it?
alternative to Goodreads. Yeah. So you
Okay.
can go in and people will pick things up and put them down there, and they'll say like what's major and what's minor. So if
Yeah.
you have any trouble, because I didn't see any at the beginning of this one, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's not heavy in a lot of stuff, but still, you may want some. Um, so and he's been turned now, so she's like, oh God, that's even worse. And he tries to come up and be like quite friendly with her, and she's like, we no, this is not the thing, and she wants nothing to do with him. And the vampire she's with, he's one of the Oberon court has something called the Shroud, which are like kind of like a specialized sort of military arm of them. They're a particular band of vampires who have been there a very long time, and they took part in like there was a war back in Europe when they were in Europe like 100 years ago or so, against the Shield, who are the vampire hunters. Um, and he's one of those, and he's very standoffish and stuff. But he sees her fear of this guy. He senses it, and he's like, okay, I'll get you home. And he makes sure she gets home all right. And she's been offered a longer term position by the head guy, Eduardo, I think it is. But she said no. And it's like, well, if you're not going to be part of us, we can't guarantee we'll give you protection. But that other guy is like, we know he's from the other court, and if he comes around, just you can message me and I'll see what I can do, kind of thing. So he's like, he's not, this is Dominic, he's one of the member of the Shroud, and he's like, he's gonna have a book later on, obviously.
Of course he is.
Yay. But he's not the main guy in this, but he's like, we'll do it anyway, when they're just grumpy and horrible,
Yeah.
but they still
Yeah,
look
whatever.
after him.
Yeah.
Um, so she a couple of days later, Elliot, who's this ex-boyfriend of hers, turns up at her house and attempts to, like, he forces his way in. He kind of barricades her in there. It's clear he wants something from her, and she fends him off a bit using her magic. She manages to get herself in her bathroom and like put a ward on the door so he can't get through it. But he's a git. He threatens her cat. He gets hold of her cat and he's like, so she'll come out. Oh, how dare!
These
Terrible villain.
Gastons are not pleasant to deal.
They're terrible. Like when you've got the
Mm.
Gaston, they go hard on those guys, don't they? He is the worst villain. So she phones Dominic. She gets him to come in. He threatens the guy. He's like, put me on speaker. I'm going to tell him, don't you dare do anything, kind of thing.
Oh,
Someone's going to be there soon. And like he doesn't listen. And Saphira turns up. She's another one of the Shroud, and she's so awesome. She's run there. She's got her heels in her hand. She's
we all
like,
want one of these.
yeah, and she like practically tears this guy's face off. Like, and she's like, get out of here. If we see you again, that's it. We're gonna be sending you back to your court as
Is
like
she going
just
to get a book?
I hope so. I hope so. I'm not entirely sure, actually. Maybe. I hope so. I really do.
Please.
Um, so they agreed to take her to a safe house, even though she's still not agreeing to do this. They're still helping her out because they're kind
Mm.
of like, all right, what are they up to? Because he was obviously coming to get her because she's a witch and he wants something from her. It's not just about their personal history. So what are the Casterons up to? And so they know they've got skin in the game a bit with this, and they're not terrible, so they want to look after her a little bit. And they take her to this house and they say, all right, we've got one of ours lives here. Um, you can stay here for a bit while we figure this out. And just you probably won't see him because obviously not, schedules are slightly off, but also he's really, really sensitive to light, like not even just daylight, just normal light. This is what they say. And
Mm.
it's not that. Um, it's
Never is.
Alistair is one of the Shroud who he's been cursed. So a lot of them have been cursed. Part of what happened during this war was that there was a witch who went over onto the side of the vampire hunters, and I think they call them night weavers. They work in curses, and she's cursed a few of the other members quite a few of the other members. I think there's going to be quite a few books in this one. I'm looking forward to it. And his particular curse is it was separate because he went after her to try and help his friends. And so he got a special curse. There's a couple of them that have special ones.
Wow.
Yeah, lucky him.
Yeah. Woohoo.
So he's like monstrous. He's been like he's part gargoyle, part demon. And you're like, that's not
Woo.
monstrous. I know.
That's fine.
Yeah. But it's like glowing red veins and and so he hides and he took it really hard because he was quite vain. He was a very pretty boy.
Oh, was he? Oh,
Yeah, I mean
bless
they
him.
all are, but
Mm.
um, and yeah, he has taken it really, really hard. He doesn't like socializing with them anymore. He just stays at his house. He's very reclusive. Um, occasionally he goes out to hunt like bad guys. He'll see someone who's like gonna attack a woman in a parking lot, and he'll like
He's
you'll
in
do
there.
for a drink. I'll use you, kind of thing, just to get out. And yeah, so he's there, and initially he's like, I don't want anyone in my house. I don't want this person. And they kind of crossed paths at the club, but he just walked off so that she couldn't see him. He'd been summoned there and he'd had his hood up. And she saw him but didn't get a chance to like see him properly. So she doesn't know him. They don't know each other. But when he realizes it's that same witch, he'd been watching her like dancing and stuff, and obviously, she's very lovely. Um, and he's like, oh, definitely not her. She's too nice. I can't
She's
scare the
too
life out of her.
beautiful.
Yeah. But then he hears her having an argument with Dominic outside about this, not wanting to go in. And she's like, I'm just scared. It's like, and he's like, oh, okay. She's really scared. She needs somewhere to go. Fine, she can come in. I'll just avoid her. I'll just avoid her. And there's like a moment where there's another member of the Shroud, is Paris, and he's like the cocky member. He gets on everyone's nerves, but everyone kind of loves him too. Um, and he's in there chatting to her, and he's the one that tells her about like the light sensitivity, because their curses are all different, and like they don't really want to talk about them. He's got a curse on him too. Um, but yeah, Alistair's got this moment where he's like listening at the top of the stairs. And that's what this one at the beginning really leans into, this thing of them being in this big house together, like kind of avoiding each other. And like you got like the broody beast, who's just like, oh, she's so nice, but I can't go near her. I'll terrify her. I enjoy that. I enjoy the emo side of it.
Oh,
um one of the things this had as well that we were talking about previously, we were talking about vampires and how like why choose really suits vampires
hmm,
in that they've lived so long and they have all these relationships. This isn't a why choose, but I wish it could have been in some
yeah.
ways, because it
So do
was
I from when you're talking.
yeah. So like Paris and Alistair they were lovers, they for a long time. But when the curse hit, Alistair like pushed him away, and Paris was very much like, I will help you, I don't care, but he wouldn't have any of it. So they like,
No.
and eventually that meant they've just fallen into kind of being friends, but with this more underneath. And their relationship's really lovely in this too. Like I really like that. And it would have been nice, the three of them. But
Yeah.
it's fine. It's just fine with the two.
Yeah.
um, so they kind of start to orbit each other a little bit more. And Alistair was a pianist, like really accomplished one. And he's got a piano out, and she used to play the piano. And so she's trying to like entice him out of his lair in the basement,
With
She's
chopsticks.
like, is it okay if I play your piano? He's like, yeah, all right. And then like later on, it's like, would you mind? Do you want to come out and play with me? There's some duets. No, I'm not going to do
Oh,
that. And then she's playing once, and he's there like lurking behind, and he's like, I could give you some tips on your form if you like. And then it's like this gradual, like slowly getting
Oh,
to know each other.
this sounds catnippy for you.
It was, yeah, it's my thing. Exactly. This is it. We
Yeah,
find our own little
we do.
trend. And then she discovers in the library, there's this statue of a woman. And Alistair goes in there each night and kind of reads to it. And it's like, I saw some reviews and people were like, yeah, he's really creepy with this statue of his ex-girlfriend. It's not his ex-girlfriend. Um, but because she's a witch, she can see that there's curses upon them, and she sees this statue and she sees that they're the curse, and she's like, is that someone that's been cursed and is living? Are they stuck?
Are
And
they in
he's
there?
like, yeah. Um, and she's just determined to break it. So the night weaving and what she is, the terminology that I don't remember how to say, um, they're kind of like related in terms of magic. Like
Hmm.
if you think protection and then you think harm, it's like opposites, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's like balance.
same coin, different sides.
And that's kind of what I loved about this as well, in that the twist on the retelling is that she decides she wants to break the curse with her abilities. She's like, oh, so this is the same person that cursed this statue and they cursed you, because she realizes eventually that there's more going on than just light bothering him. His glowing red eyes coming
Mm,
out. Oh, that is a funny, I won't go into that. It's a funny moment when she discovers it.
yeah,
Um,
it's easier to
but
read the book,
yeah, so,
people.
yeah, she kind of, it's she's like, I'm determined to do this. And they're like, other witches have tried. I don't think you can. And she's like, well, I'm saying that I'm going to
Yeah,
try.
I'm gonna do
You're
it.
going to give me a chance to do it. So even though it's still wrapped up in that kind of soulmate, love bonds and things like this, it's also about her just being like, I'm going to figure this out for you. And so there's not that element from his side of, like the beast kind of knowing and being like, well, I got to keep this girl around in case she falls in love with me and it can break
Yeah,
my
yeah, because I
curse.
need to break
It's
that curse.
Yeah, do you know what I
She's
mean?
already
He's
there for
he's
it.
not out there for that. He was just protecting her and he never thought that was part of it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, and there's, like I said, there's lots of other curses and books to read, but
Oh,
that was very
this
cool.
is it. I wonder how many people are sitting listening going, but what's the curse? Where was the curse? Which one is it?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, go read some books, people.
Go
I got
read them all.
loads. I got
Yeah.
so many.
Mm.
Okay, so my next one is okay, so it's Malice by Heather Walker, and
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
it's Sleeping Beauty, but there
Mm-hmm.
are some kind of Cinderella vibes in there as well, I found when I was reading.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of more the take of the Maleficent side of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we have I'll explain how that bit fits in. Okay, with the coughs of these last weeks.
Yeah. Sorry about that,
Yeah,
everybody.
apologies, people. Just
We've
kids and
we've just been
germs.
dealing with, yeah, lots
Lurgy.
of sniffles.
Yeah, we're trying to keep them away, but they keep coming back.
Hmm.
Okay, so I have Fey Wars again. I don't know how I keep finding them, but God, they're a villainous bunch, these Fey. So I have a Fey War. These light Fey are fighting with these ones that are perceived to be the bad Fey, and they're called the
Hmm.
Villa.
Yeah.
And up the Villa if you're a fan. Yeah, so basically they are like these beastly demonous ones, so they need to be eradicated, and these light fae pull the humans in to help defeat them, which they do, and they eradicate them all. And because of this, they bestow gifts upon the humans. It's not any particular one. They've just threaded through the humans that occasionally there will be girls born, it's always girls born with gifts, and these are called the graces. And they
Hmm.
can be pinpointed because they have distinguishing factors. They've always got bright, vibrant, beautiful hair,
Hmm.
and their blood is gold. So
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you can kind of see that they like shimmery and really pretty and beautiful. And we have one who, okay, so when you birth a grace, at a certain point when they're very small, they are taken and they are treated like the best things in the world. They are raised
Okay.
within this beautiful house, and they are all kept together, and there's lots of them around the place. And they have these gifts of all the good stuff. They have beauty, they have knowledge, they have
Mm-hmm.
all of the usual things that people want. And then we have one who is Alice, who is brought to the Graces' house and left there because she's found in an alley. And
Oh.
she's got these distinguishing features that are kind of opposing to the Graces. She's got very sallow skin. She's got dark, dank black hair that hangs down really limply. And her blood isn't gold, it's green. So
Mm-hmm.
she has this real horrible pallor to her because
Yeah.
everything is, yeah, unpleasant underneath. But she's taken in as a Grace, but she's obviously called a dark Grace because of what she is. And her powers are all of the unpleasant things. They are, ugliness and darkness. And what they asked her to do is kind of what you would imagine people mostly want from life. So
Right.
basically, she's put in with the Graces. The Graces don't really like her. That's where the
Mm-hmm.
Cinderella vibe comes in, that they kind of try
Okay.
and keep her out the way. They make her do the tasks that they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there were people around who were supposed to do that, the Graces kind of pay them off with deals and stuff to make sure that Alice gets the unpleasant stuff. There's one who is called Rose. She's like the beauty Grace, and she nicknames Alice Malice. That's where the
Oh.
title comes in. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, lovely people.
Mm.
So basically, when the Graces are all raised, when they hit a certain age, they are allowed to sell their wares to the people around them. There are lots of rules in place how they can and can't do it. They can't do it for personal gain, things like that, to keep it equal. But the people who own the houses the Graces live in obviously take a cut. So yeah, every day the Graces do like a 9 to 5. People come, put their names down, and they come for whatever.
Okay.
And the one who in this house who does the best and the most work is Alice,
Mm-hmm.
because people are horrible and they want warts on their neighbour, they want
Yeah.
locusts on their friends' fields, they want all
Mm-hmm.
of the horrible stuff. So, what it is, they have to use their blood with spells and other things found in nature to make these potions for
Right.
people. So she has a pet frog who she has to kind of get bits out of to mix with her blood to get warts, that kind of stuff. If you want red lips, you find a rose and mix with the other blood, that kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. So yeah, that's basically the main thing of it. Alice doesn't feel like she's wanted. Wherever she goes, people know who she is because she doesn't look like anybody else. She kind of covers it with a cloak and a hood, which makes her stand out 10 times more than anybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, she's just kind of the massive outcast in all of this. But we find out a ball is coming. So she's never been to a ball. She's never been invited to a ball. When the Graces come, the other Graces are kind of like, well, she's a dark Grace. Doesn't say that. She can't come. But this
Mm-hmm.
ball is coming up because there is a curse on the royal family. They descended from a female leader, and the gift of that this leader had that kind of helped her win is only passed down to the women. So it always goes to a queen, and the queen
Yeah.
always has daughters. But the current queen is so downtrodden, her husband rules everything.
Mm.
But they had 3 daughters, and this curse has kicked in that all of the daughters die when they come of age unless they get their true love's kiss.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 2 princesses have died. They've already been and gone. So they put something into place, wangled something, and said, okay, we need to go to the Fae. And they said, okay, we'll put this thing in, and this princess, when she comes of age, she will just fall to sleep. So
Okay.
this is Princess Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
So they're holding a ball to try and find suitors for her. So yeah, we'll go into that in a minute. Everybody has been called to the ball, and the woman who runs the Grace's house has kind of gone, well, it kind of specifies everybody in the building this time, so Alice is allowed to come. So Rose is kicking off saying no. She's kind of getting all of the others to say no. There's one in there
Mm.
that kind of likes Alice, but kind of keeps herself back, doesn't say too much. On the day of the ball, she is sent off here, there, and everywhere. All of her work is put into the afternoon, so she doesn't have time to get ready. You know, she's had to go out and get supplies. She kind of gets to the end of her work day, and everybody's already gone. So she
Yeah.
goes to her room, like, okay, fine, whatever, not doing it. But she gets to her room, and there is a dress on the bed. And it's
Mm.
got full sleeves from fingers up to elbows, and then the dress comes from
Ooh.
shoulders down to elbows. It's a masked ball, so she has a
Ah,
full
yeah, yeah.
face mask, so nobody can see any of her distinguishing features. She's got something she can put over her head, so she's like, do you know what? I'm going. So she goes and she has a lovely night. There's a dude who chats to her who's never seen her eyes before. It's all really lovely until Rose turns up, grabs the hood, grabs the mask, and
Oh.
pulls. And then she's just left in this pile.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, crap. So she's like, yeah, it isn't happening. Runs out, falls into the pond, cuts her hands, her blood gets into the pond, churns all the fountain up and the water. And then somebody comes out to chat to her, and it's Princess Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, okay, why are you here? What's going on? And she's like, no, I just don't want it. I want to go. And she's like, why? You are kind of the best thing I've ever seen. You are, you know, you've come, you've tried, you've done all of this, you've come out of your comfort zone. And she chats to her, and she's like, yeah, I am here. I have been paraded around every man you can think against my
Mm-hmm.
will. There's a man who turns up every day who I have to kiss to see if he's my true love. And they
Yeah.
kind of see that they're both, one's in the palace, one's kind of living in this grotty little shell in the Grace's house, and this kinship kind of comes between the
Yeah.
two of them. And I would say it's YA, so there is
Oh,
yeah,
stuck on
there
you.
is more
We're
of a
both doing
personal.
this, aren't we?
I know
Sneaking them in.
there is more of a personal growth for Alice in this
Yeah.
than there is the love story. I mean, it is sapphic, so Aurora and Alice together in the end, but that's kind of
Yeah.
not the bigger thing of it. But yeah,
Okay.
it was just I like, when the villain comes out on top, I like it.
Yeah.
We all know that this is my thing. But yeah, it's just kind of showing the depths of humanity and how we are all kind of that horrendous little thing. We do have those little petty bits of
Mm-hmm.
jealousy and envy, and it's kind of so well done here that this queue
Oh.
of people waiting. So when the ball is announced, her list is massive anyway, because
Yeah.
somebody comes up and
Oh,
goes, well,
wow.
I want her to trip over
Yeah,
when she
yeah.
walks in. She may have the prettiest dress because she got to
Mm-hmm.
see Rose to get all the beauty, but I want you to do it so when she walks in, she falls on her face. And it's
Ugh.
just, the people are doing it. Yeah, when he puts his rouge and his pomade on, I want it to all drip down his face. And they're just awful. They're just the person who everybody, the entire place see, this one poor girl who is seen as the scourge of the village is the
Yeah.
nicest one of the lot,
Oh.
her and the princess. And it's just,
Mm-hmm.
so very well done.
Yes. Yeah, there are, like I was saying before, there are a lot of really tempting YA ones out there.
Ooh.
I think I was so close to reading a couple of them for it. And it's like if I've because last week obviously I picked a YA, but I'd read that previously and then it was like I knew it kind of could do the crossover. So you've got to read them to figure out whether or not they can kind of do the crossover.
Yes.
And like, yeah, because obviously YA is so varied in tone, isn't it? You can go from like something that is suitable for like a 13-year-old to
Up
stuff
to
that adults
18.
are very
Yeah.
happy reading. So it's a bit of a mix, yeah. I was like, and if you haven't read them already and you've only got limited time to pick, it's quite hard to
Oh,
get
it
hold of
really is so
them.
hard.
But there are some really, really excellent looking ones. That there was another one I was like so close to reading, which was Escaping Mr. Rochester, which was a sapphic one.
Mm.
And it was a Jane Eyre retelling, and I love Jane Eyre, but I would be very happy to read like this alternative flip on it as well. So
Ooh.
again, I'm probably going to have to go and give that a try. But like, yeah, sometimes you don't know how much weighting you're going to get on the romance and
This
stuff.
is it. Yeah, yeah.
Because I kind of feel like my next one is a little bit like it's not a YA one. Um, and it's again it's kind of bending it a little bit to call it a romance, but it is in that you get the love and you get happily ever after, and it's not really a spoiler to tell you that either. So it's A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. And when we did the special with Two Lit Chicks, this was one
Hmm.
that Ed had
Oh,
like
okay.
recommended as possibly something we would enjoy with a romance. The romance is integral, but it's not central. So it's a retelling of Dracula from the perspective of one of Dracula's brides. And it
Nice.
opens and it's like, it's written, the whole thing is written, her writing to him, but immediately, again, it's not a spoiler, you know she's killed him. And it's just this recounting of all of their time together to explain how she got to this point, like how this has happened. And so you see like the moments they meet and this it the relation obviously the romance element that is being sold as the happily ever after is not them two. it's
Okay.
it's the other, yeah, because she kills him in the end.
Well,
That's
I was
not
going to
how
say, well, yeah.
romance works.
Well, yeah. I'll say, yeah, they do end up dead in the original, don't they?
So
So, yeah.
don't worry.
Yeah.
There's two other main characters who join them. Oh God, I've forgotten their names. I should have written them down. I think it's like Marguerite or something like that. So there's one woman and one man who join their group as like it's, polyamorous, and it's how Dracula is like, again, triggers and stuff is abusive to them in the way that he tries to control them. It's very much about coercive control and him wanting to keep all the information about how to be strong, about not letting them go out and develop relationships with other people. He moves them around, he plays them off, he'll love bomb them one minute and then not. And these different characters. And for Constanta, who's the main character, she is a survivor and she's quite innocent, and it, she's his first bride. Um, and she doesn't really realize what's happening until he introduces someone else. And it's been planned, and he's kept this kind of secret. And she's finding it difficult because she feels betrayed, but at the same time, she has attraction to this new woman. I really wish I'd written down her name. Um, so she's kind of torn, but then as she accepts it and they bring her into their relationship, um, then she starts to see how he's treating her as well, because she's much more confident and um yeah, seeing her light being dulled by how Dracula is treating her is like what starts the cogs moving in that this isn't right, this isn't how it's supposed to be. So it is very much about these relationships that she gets with the other two who I haven't named. I don't know why.
I
I
want to
think
call
it's
them
because
Mina and Jonathan, but I'm not going
there's
to.
not. It was like, it was so, I read this, I think, at the beginning of the summer. So I wrote my notes down and then I forgot to embellish upon them. Um,
Fine. Read the book, Peeps.
yeah. So
Does
yeah,
sound
you
very
get
good.
all these facets of love, but it is different to your ordinary paranormal romance. If you're going
Yes.
in, it's a very different beast to the Guardian's Curse one that I just read. And like the way it's told, because like it's written to him. And I mean, if you're looking for a modern fix of like Anne Rice, it's got that kind of hypnotic quality to the prose. Like, so fairy tale-ish in that you know how fairy tales are told to you more than you are shown stuff through, description and things like that. Although there
Hmm.
is detailed description about like setting the scenes and how they're feeling and things, but it's just kind of written in a different way. It's not it's not super long. So I think I read it in like 2 days. It was really like it just grabs you. It's really gets this like you're tense reading it and it like grows this gradual tension even though you know what's going to happen but you're still really worried for them because they like start to band together about how we're going to get away from him because he's like the most powerful of us all
Thing
and
ever.
it was yes very good and I've got evocation on my I literally I bought that and I was hoping I could read it for Love Triangle, but it's not a love triangle.
Oh,
It's I
uh,
think MMF. So I was like, damn, I'll have to read it now. We're done with
ah,
all the podcast
now we're
reading.
done.
But yeah,
Oh
it was
God.
very good. I enjoyed
Okay,
it.
cool. All right. This one I'm gonna try and keep
Okay,
small and
we've
short
got
and simple.
another. Yeah.
Oh God, this has grabbed me by the hair and shook me like a dog.
Ooh.
Okay, this is called "To Bleed a Crystal Bloom." And Sarah
Mm.
A.
I have
Parker.
heard of this one.
Oh,
Mm.
I have never been so torn, but so involved with a
Wow.
book, with a series.
Okay.
It's not me, but it really is. It's so strange. Okay, so this is a Rapunzel retelling.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
when you start writing, or when I started writing, people were like, okay, you've got to get people in first chapter, you've got to draw the people in. This has got a chapter that you go, oh, oh, oh,
Wow.
and it just everything is in there. And even now, I've got to the third book. I still don't know if something that I read in that first chapter is a thing that I think it might be.
Oh, wow.
There are
Okay.
so many that get dribbled in along the
Hmm.
way, and it is epically slow burn. There is
Okay. That is not
three
like
books,
you.
three
Oh
books.
my.
I am. I
You seem like offended.
I am.
3 books. Are you
It's one of the.
kidding me?
Yeah, I'm sat in the dark, like questioning everything. It's kind of so
It
weird.
happens. See?
Occasionally, it
It
does.
does happen.
It
I like
really.
a slow
Okay,
burn.
so
Not that
I'm gonna.
slow though.
Well, yeah, no, no, three books. Okay, I'm gonna try and set the scene
Okay.
and tell you about this first chapter and not go on till 2 o'clock this afternoon because we've got
Yeah.
things to do, people. Okay, we meet Reardon, is how I'm going to say it. There's H's and stuff in it. I think he's Reardon.
Yeah.
And he is returning to somewhere he's not been for a long time. And he's tense. He doesn't know what's going to happen, what he's going to find there. And he gets there, and as soon as he gets there on his horse, he can see there's carnage and chaos, and he's late. He's too late. He's put it off, but he's too late to what he should have been and done and saved. So
Okay.
he gets there, and there's limbs everywhere, and there's a safe house that he was supposed to go to. It's burnt down, and he's like, we put too many people in. His internal monologue going through it is just awful when he's going along, and it's like, Jesus, we put too many there. Why didn't I come back sooner? And he's walking along, and he sees like a child's arm on the floor,
Oh.
and just every step of the way it's getting worse, and he's looking for one person. He's looking for his friend whose name, Averin is her name, apologies. And he finds her body, and he's like, geez, I'm too late. He goes, turns her over, her entire midsection is gone, but she's still alive. She's
Yeah.
still there.
Jeez.
And he kind of notes little things. She's got pointed ears, and there's little thorns that are kind of interlinked around these ears, and her skin should be glowing, but it's not. And we don't find out what she is, what's going on. That's all later as well. And
Okay.
she's lying on the floor, dying, and she's like, you've got to save her. You've got to save her. And he already knows that
Mm.
she's dead. So he's kind of,
Oh
she
God.
gives him a necklace and says, please save her. So he goes, yeah, I'll do it. Goes to grab his sword. She goes to talk, but he does it. He puts her out of her misery. Takes his necklace. He can hear noises in the background. So he goes to see what it is, what has caused this carnage. And they're called rooks, and they're like these big hellhound type creatures. So
Mm.
he's going to go finish them off and go and just leave the place.
Yeah.
But he gets there, and they're all clambering around this one thing. And it's like a dome, And
Hmm.
he's like, what the hell is that? And they're scratching at it and these horrendous, you know, when you're sort of scratching like metal against
Yeah.
glass, and it's awful. And he goes over, gets his sword, takes one out, looks in and finds there's like a toddler crouched
Oh, right.
inside
Hmm.
this dome. And he's like, Jesus. And he can't hear anything, but he can see her shaking and screaming and just got
Yeah.
blood all over her. And he's like, okay, I don't know what the hell's going on, but this is obviously who she means to save. And he
Yeah.
sort of stops and he grabs his sword, kills the other two. And he's like, okay, it's been 7 years since I've been here. Somehow she's managed to have another baby, and that
Mm.
somehow 7 years, mate, a lot can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he waits around and he's kind of aware that she's got these pointed ears and these little things around them,
Yeah.
and that she's created this force field herself. So he waits her
Okay.
out, he chats to her, tries to calm her down, and eventually the shield disappears. So he picks this baby up and he's like, okay, she's about two-ish. He's like,
Mm.
okay, I'm going to protect you. Gets her on his horse, her clothes fall away, and she's got this mark on her shoulder.
Mm.
And he's like, oh Jesus, it's a prophecy of a death mark.
Oh,
And he's
wow.
like, okay, I can't. I don't care what I told Averin. I can't save this child with what she can bring. So he goes to grab his sword, puts his head on her head to sort of say sorry. And then he tastes her blood and he's like, oh, fuck, I can't kill her. And he's like, for the
Okay.
first time in anything, I've got to be selfish. And that's
Okay.
it. That's your first chapter. And he's like,
Right.
what are the things? Who are the blood? What is the prophecy? Oh my God.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, that's too many things dangling for me. I'm like a cat
Yeah.
Christmas tree. So
You
yeah, we
love that,
jump.
don't you?
Yeah, so do. We jump to like 19 years later, and the
Right.
girl is Olaf. She is in Big Tower. This is a Rapunzel retelling.
Hmm.
But the long hair at the minute, even where I am, I don't think even she's got really long hair.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to have a massive relevance. I think it might
Yet.
now
You're
I'm in the
waiting, are you?
book. I'm waiting for another thing. She's up in this tower, and Reed obviously saved her, but since that day, he's never had anything to do with her. He comes and goes.
Okay.
Occasionally, they have meals together, occasionally, but he never
Hmm.
eats. It's a very weird dynamic. But
Okay.
every single day, he comes to her tower. Oh, she's fantastic with how she names things. She's got her tower. She's got one door that let people in and let people out. That's it. But there is a little hatch within her door. And every day, every evening, Reardon comes up the stairs and she counts each step he takes.
Hmm.
And she has got to fill a crystal goblet with water and put just a few drops of her blood in it. And then she
Okay.
puts it through the door, has to lock her door, her little hatch,
Yeah.
because she's tried leaving it open before. She's gone 20 years of things she's tried to do to get this
Yeah.
chap's
Yeah.
attention. She knows
Hmm.
that he saved her and then brought her to his tower or his castle and then hardly ever sees him. So he is this big epic character to her. Doesn't, he's handsome and, all the other things. Doesn't really miss that. But yeah, every night, like clockwork, this happens. So that's where we start with her. And then we kind of go into it. So he comes, he takes the crystal goblet and leaves. She doesn't know if he drinks it. She's got no idea what
Okay.
he does with it. She
Hmm.
doesn't know. Vampires are never mentioned, but that is the
Mm.
feel you get. I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
even know if he is yet. I'm at that
Mm.
stage. I
Oh, well, I
still
I think that would drive me nuts, to be
but it's
honest.
done. The writing is so good, and the side characters, and the stuff that they go through. So we spend a lot of time with her and her little bubble. So with the
Yeah.
Rapunzel telling, she's put in the tower to keep her safe or to keep her away. With this, she puts herself in the tower because
Okay.
she has got a hell of a lot of PTSD. She doesn't remember what
Right.
happened, but every night she has horrendous nightmares about it.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
she can see a boy, she can see a man, she can see blood, there's an axe, she can hear her mum screaming, and
God.
every night it's the same.
Yeah.
So over the years, they've got worse as she's got older, she sees more. So she's started medicating herself
Hmm.
to try and get to sleep. And then because she's having to keep medicating, the medication has to be upped and upped and upped. And then she has to start bringing herself back down every morning.
Oh
So
God.
she's
Yeah.
basically got herself further and further locked into this tower. She's
Yeah.
got a safety line around the castle that she'll never go any further from. So there's certain bits within the castle. So she's seen everywhere in the castle and
Mm.
nowhere that Reardon is because he keeps away and he keeps certain
Yeah.
doors locked. So she knows all of the little passageways and everything, but she won't go past this safety line. And yet over time, she's kind of medicated herself up, medicated herself back down again. And she's kind of made her own little bubble even smaller because of
Mm.
what she's having to do. And he's kind of a weird barn, but he's not. So she's got all this PTSD and he kind of gives her snippets, but his logic is he has to stay away from her because he's going to be the worst possible thing for her. But that makes her worse because she just wants to be within his orbit
Yeah.
and it kind of makes her 10 times worse with it. And it is just the push and pull between them.
Mm.
And there's lots of things going on with these rooks. These hellhoundy things are getting bigger and stronger and they're attacking the villagers. So they're having to kind of start alliances. So Reardon brings a woman in. So there's going to be an impending marriage. And then that makes all that kind of just go totally
Ooh.
crazy, just totally off
Yeah.
the wall. And she starts kicking off with that. And then he starts getting closer and all of the things up the wall start happening. It's like hands against the head. That sort of
Okay.
happens as well. So
Hmm.
every time I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? Something like that happens and keeps me going back to more reading. And it's 4 in the morning and I'm so tired.
No, you haven't stayed up till 4, have you?
Oh,
Oh my
it's just,
God.
it was mental.
I can't
So
do
yeah,
it.
it is so good. And there's still bits I don't know. I found something out at the end of the first book. She's got a chap called Bays, who's kind of like her keeper, and he teaches
Yeah.
her to fight, but he's not really her keeper. There's something else that you find out going along the way.
Mm.
It's just so good. But you
Wow.
leave it there. Just
Yeah.
there's so many things that go on with it. It's just yeah, fantastically
Honestly,
done.
this this season, I think we have come up with more
Mm.
books that are in these long series than any other. Like we've got
This
our
is
recommendations, and usually it's like 6 books, if unless we're
I'm
being a little bit naughty. And but these ones are like, yes, but you have to read these 4,
the
these
entire
12,
thing.
these,
I am
know.
still Ella Field from like episode 1. I still
Yeah.
have books here that I'm like,
Hmm.
I need to read this one as well.
There's a
But
lot of
oh,
books.
so good.
Loads and loads. Okay, right. Well, it would be remiss as well if we didn't talk in retellings about Hades and Persephone
Oh,
because we get a lot of that.
we
There is.
do.
And I was thinking about it as well. And is it because, like, he's the only one of the main gods that was actually devoted to his wife? Is that the reason? And obviously, it's
Yeah.
the underworld,
Yeah,
and
the
you know.
darkest, dankest one that's supposed to not be. Oh,
Yeah, this is like that is the perfect thing, isn't it? Like the villain, the one who's supposed to be all darkness, but he loves his wife.
he really and his puppies. He knows his puppies.
Yeah, and he loves his puppies. Yeah. So my one again is a little bit different in that it's Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe. I think we're gonna
I've
say
gone
it
for. I just said
Smythe.
Smite. Yeah,
Smythe. And you can probably, if you're
it's
watching,
over
you can
there.
see
I
it
saw it.
behind me.
Oh, so
Um,
pretty.
which is a graphic novel retellings of like the gods of Olympus. It's kind of updated to modern times. Gorgeous, gorgeous
It's
artwork.
fantastically done. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I won't say too much about it because it's kind of one you need to experience with the pictures as well.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, obviously it centralizes Hades and Persephone. This is only volume 1 that I've read so far, and I know you've read
Yeah.
more than that, haven't
Yeah.
you?
It's on Webtoon. So
Yeah. Um,
or was.
so their first meeting, Persephone is very much the naive, innocent kind of girl that's been closeted by her mum. Um, but she has been allowed to go to the city now and stay with Artemis, I think she's staying with.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've got Hades, who is going along to one of Zeus's parties, and he's being stood up by his horrible kind of, I would say, situationship
Oh,
person,
is
because
it Minth?
Minth,
Minth.
yeah. Oh, is she going to turn up more later?
Oh, she does. There's a weird. You do kind of feel a bit sorry for her at times, I
Do
think, because
you?
she's
Wow.
not great, but you can kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
get more.
She's
Yeah,
not, yeah, she's not nice to him anyway. She stands
yeah.
him up, so he's got to go alone, and then everybody's like immediately talking about it. Are you on your own? He's like,
Mhm.
mm. Um, and he sees Persephone arrive, and like immediately he's like, oh wow, look at her. She puts Aphrodite to shame. And of course Aphrodite overhears it. She doesn't like that. So she comes up with this plan with Eros to like get Persephone really drunk, get her in the back of Hades' car so that when she wakes up and he's driving home, she thinks he's like a major creep who's
Mm.
tried to take advantage of her. Um, that isn't how it plays out with them when she wakes up and how she reacts in Hades' home, and they have this really like these really cute interactions. Um, and he introduces her to all his dogs, like you were
Dogs.
saying before.
All of his
So many
puppies.
dogs.
Oh,
It's not just Cerberus. There's like so many other ones,
just
and
the way he talks and looks at them in the pictures, and you're
yeah.
just like,
Oh, it's
oh,
just yeah. I would show, but it's like that's not really fair to the people listening. You have
no.
to see it. Um, and yeah, and then they go their separate ways. He like gets her off to home and stuff, and they're both trying to like deny these feelings for each other, and it's just there's so much of the Greek gods and that just it just plays so well into drama, doesn't it?
Mm,
Like all the little stories. And I have to say, I'm not someone that knows the ins and outs of the Greek myths very, very well. Like I
no.
couldn't tell you the canon of the Iliad or anything. Um Sorry, I saw a meme about the Iliad, and it was saying how it was derived from Ilia or something like that, which is Troy, and then ad meaning story. So it's actually Troy story. I don't know if that's fact.
Oh,
I just
oh,
saw it
I
and
don't
it
care. It
made
is
me
now.
laugh.
It is now.
Yeah, Troy story.
They'll fall over.
Yeah.
Zeus is
Um,
coming.
yeah. So, yeah, it plays into all
Mm,
of that. You've got lots of the other characters, their rivalries and stuff. And it always seems like quite an urban kind of updated setting that's kind of used, isn't it?
mhm.
Like for a lot of the Greek retellings and things. Um, Definitely check trigger warnings for this one as well, because there's like some not nice stuff that
Yeah.
happens to some of the characters because it is Greek retellings and they're not
Yeah, yeah.
nice generally. Um,
No.
but yeah, I'm gonna want to carry on with that. It was just perfect for, you know, just wanting a little bit of something different, but still hitting the spot. And I think, yeah, I might explore some graphic novels a bit more.
Mm.
It's fun.
Well,
Get a lot
this
of
is it.
Mills and Boon's one now. Have you seen?
Really?
Mills
I've
and Boon
not.
have
No.
sold a lot of
Oh,
their rights to like
nice.
having
That would be
graphic novels done.
fantastic.
Yeah, quite sort of anime style ones.
Yeah. Well, this is it. Webtoons is a fantastic little place to go and have a prowl
Mm.
around. And then I think we were chatting about patrons and stuff the other day about the
Yeah,
amount of
yeah,
people who go on and then sort of
yeah.
make it more,
I think I
make it
just
bigger
get
and.
overwhelmed. I know, like, obviously, some of them get picked up and then, like,
Mm.
published separately now. And I think for me, going to like webtoons is like, oh, it's just an embarrassment of wealth, isn't it? It's like,
Mm.
where do you go? What do you? Same with kind of like Wattpad stuff and
Yeah.
and fan fiction. I can't. I would lose hours and hours just trying to find the thing that I wanted to read.
I found a gargoyle one.
Did you?
Of course you did.
Of course you did.
Didn't Taylor?
Speaking of gargoyles, I'm sure I read a novella that was quite Beauty and the Beast-esque, called Romance in the Stone by Jessica
Ah,
Haynes. It
hey,
definitely has that feel to
that was
it.
in there. Yes.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's very good as well. So maybe people should check that one out
Yeah, definitely a look
too.
over. But
Yeah.
what I love with this, what you don't get in novels sometimes, is with
Mm.
this, when somebody says something and you always get the facial expressions, and
Yeah.
just you can kind of get a really big like, huh, face,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just the way they're
Or
drawn.
like
I'm so, oh,
little like yeah, it's just little moments and little asides of
yes.
things that they're thinking about and yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Or just
very
yeah,
cool.
seeing her sat on the like on the rocks when he walks past and she just looks glowing and beautiful and there's all
Yeah,
like
this is it,
little
like seeing it
butterflies
through
around
his
her.
eyes and it's
Yeah.
just done in that
Yeah. And you
second.
there you can be the best author in the world, but just to get that full first visual is
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's it. I think that there's room for the stories in lots of media, isn't there, at the end of the
Mm,
day? So,
love it.
yes. So, I guess that's it. That's a
That's it.
wrap
Yeah,
on
season 7 is
season
done
7.
on the
All
tropiness.
done.
So do you
Yeah.
have a book to go to? Are you
What next that I'm reading?
Yes, to get. So this is it. If you've not seen this before, we do go into quite big slumps that we have
Yeah.
to step
Yeah, yeah.
away from the fantasy a bit just to have a
It's
moment
just that
of.
mental thing, isn't it, of having to read certain things and having to find them. And like I'm a massive mood reader, so it's really quite the discipline of having to find the right book.
Yeah, the at the right time and then go through. So I have to kind of redo all three within the week leading up to
Yeah,
our
yeah.
recordings just
Oh,
to make
see,
sure I've got a grasp of what I'm talking about,
I
even though
should have been
still go
doing
off
that
on a
more.
tangent.
Yeah,
But
me,
this is
details
it.
are hazy.
Yeah, everything's slightly hazy after
Yeah.
6 weeks.
So the reading slump does hit quite
Hmm.
hard. So I have got I'm going into my Christmassy rom-com season because
Yes,
it's the right time
tis the
of year
season.
for that. And I have actually started reading something already, which is a cross between it's like a Christmas rom-com, but also kind of a cozy mystery. It's
Ooh.
like writers who are rival writers and they get invited to this like esteemed author's house, but then she goes missing and they've kind of got to work together. So I thought I'd go for something that had a bit more kind of impetus to the plot side, like a mystery,
Nice.
rather than go straight from fantasy, which you get a lot of plot stuff, into like you say with like
Yeah,
the cozy cafe stuff, and you're going from wars and magic and
yeah,
this, and
all the
then it's
Fae
like,
killing each other.
oh, the delivery for the coffee hasn't turned up on time.
No, we need a salted caramel mocha stat.
Which I love. I love that coziness, but I felt like I needed to ease myself into it at the same time to try and
Yeah,
because I've got
yeah.
like a bunch of books that
Oh,
I want
so
to
many. I
read.
sent you my
And
picture of all the ones that I've
yeah,
got still.
I've got a bunch of sports romances, which a lot
Mm.
of Formula One ones came out recently.
Oh, okay, nice.
I've got just some normal kind of rom-com ones as well, and I've got a few fantasy ones that are not romance, but they're continuations of series that I've hit before or ones that I'm really curious about. So I've got
No,
a bunch of different stuff.
yeah, just sifting through it in it to find what's
And
what.
then eventually I'll get back to reading on in the series of all of these ones that we've talked
I need to
about.
finish. Yeah, I need to finish number
Yeah.
3. Got to get that done.
Is that what you're doing? Are you going in for like,
Yeah,
because
I'm going into.
you get more like you have to do it then and there,
Yes,
don't you, when you're into
yes.
something?
If
Um,
I'm in there and I need to know why the blood is so tasty and who the things are and what
why is
happened to
that?
the. Yeah,
I
got
wonder
to get that done.
why.
But I've got Audible credits to use. So I've picked up,
Ah,
I've gone full
nice.
dystopian with Ensnared by Rebecca Quinn, which is fantastic because there's like 6
Oh,
different voices, which is
okay.
really weird when you're listening. You get this like
Yeah,
this dude
yeah.
goes "Blah, blah, blah, blah," and then you get a totally different accent. And then a woman goes, "But why?"
Ooh.
I'm like, "Oh my God, it's
It's
so cool."
actually like, yeah, they're like plays more, aren't they? Like
Yes, yeah.
listening to
I'm
them.
sat in the room watching them, going, "Okay,
Yeah,
ooh, ooh." Oh,
they're good.
very good.
I really need to try and get over my difficulty listening to fiction
Yeah.
because it would help greatly
Yeah,
with
while
my
I'm walking and driving and
yeah,
doing
this
and
is it. That's
sorting.
it. While I'm doing, I could get a lot more done. And like,
Yeah,
yeah, if you've not got the concentration as well, sometimes it's like it's really hard if you're tired, isn't it, to read. like actually using your eyeballs, my eyes get very tired. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, Mr. Jessica has said, he goes, is there anywhere you can't read? You know, you're cooking and you're reading, you're walking up and
yeah,
down the stairs, you're doing the washing, and it's sort of
yeah,
propped in front of you as you're folding
yeah,
socks and stuff. And
yeah,
it's like, what? He goes, you can't drive and do it. It's like, yeah, I can. And
yeah,
this is that's one ear and stuff, no music and stuff. But yes,
yeah. That's it.
yeah, I can.
Yes. So there's all the methods that people can use
Mm,
to
yeah.
catch up with these books that we've recommended.
Mm.
And
Like all the
yeah,
methods of finding us.
that's it. We've got
Mm,
all the social media, the TikTok, the Instagram. We are on Twitter still. I don't know
yeah.
how
No,
worth
we
that
may not
is.
be forever. I don't know.
Yeah,
But maybe
I
step
don't
away
know.
from giving him things.
Yeah,
You can email us, drop us an email. We still
that's
do
it.
that.
Yeah, get in contact, comment, leave us a
Mm,
review. That'd be nice if you
yeah.
like it. And let us know if you've picked up any of these books or if you've got different ones within the tropes that you like. Because obviously, quite other than Love Triangle, quite a few of these tropes are ones you really enjoy.
But I think Love Triangle was probably our longest episode this
It
season from what you've
was.
told me.
It
So
was epic, that
always
one.
a
Oh
talking
no,
point.
no, it
Or was it
wasn't.
not? Oh,
Bodyguard was our longest one.
oh, was it?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
strangely.
understandable though.
Yeah.
Do you not think? Oh, I think that's understandable.
Well, like you say, it would make sense if it had been Love Triangle because we were chatting around
Yeah, around.
subjects. There was a lot of
Just to
controversy.
skim around and come back.
Yeah.
We'll get
Um,
there.
but I even found books that I liked from that. So if you do have ones that you really, really love,
Oh, come and
then
tell us.
come and tell us about them. We might have you
Mhm.
on the show in the future
Yeah, you never know.
to wave the flag for those tropes.
Yeah, we should have for and against.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, but yeah, until next time, have a
Yes.
lovely one.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.